is that the young should clarify the concept of investment means increasing or enhancing something. It means that something should be existed with good revenues and increasing its size. So if you retain and maintain something, it will develop. And if it retreats, that's a problem. So the investment is how to make something produces more. I will give some examples. The youth, for example, the coronavirus pandemic has served the youth, though it has disrupted the world and affected the world dramatically. But the knowledge investment has shown the youth creation and creativity. For example, in Jordan, we have a lot of youth power in the investment of knowledge when they made, for example, Thabet application for building information and data and how to afford technological services for people under certain circumstances and helping the state by cases and the stakeholders in delivering food and water and communicate with the society and the medical and service entities. All these have been made by the youth, which were not found previously. So under these circumstances and creation and creativity and innovation, their abilities have emerged. The pandemic was compulsory for all, and the infrastructure, the technological infrastructure was ready in a compulsory way. This is what we fear after the pandemic. These powers and these energies will diminish and be away from the arena and will be abandoned. But these youth energy have played a vital role. I will give you another example. For example, in the field of entrepreneurship, which has a big role in investment of knowledge. Why? Because one of the persons, some people know who live in the UAE, he designed an application to distribute water to houses. He has no water factory. He linked the sources of water in the supermarkets, and he put all the types of water as a consumer and to be delivered for you. And he was a mediator, really. This is a big investment. And I think also they sold in huge amounts of money as a knowledge and information and application as well. This is a young man. He did not have millions to invest. Today we talk about knowledge economy. You talk about two things, about knowledge, how to invest and deploy it cleverly, and human resources. Previously, human resources used their muscles and hands more than brain. Today, the story is reversed. People use their minds rather than their hands and muscles in producing any production. This is a quick answer for that. Following your talk, as you said, the worker now uses his brain more than his hand. This is applied on many and different industries in the Arab world. The knowledge economy nowadays depend on knowledge-based technology, and this requires laborers with certain skills and talents to deal with these technology. This number of laborers is little in the Arab world, and this widens the gap as the laborers who have funds and technological resources, but most laborers have no resources like this. So how the youth can enter strongly in the economy of knowledge and to raise their skills where he can earn a lot of money as he has good skills and talents. There's a good question, and you put your finger on the point. the opportunities and the pains of others. As you said, Dr. Hany, the knowledge economy can make a lot of workers without position, without work, because they are not qualified in terms of skills and technology, new technology. But the harmony between the public and the private sector is the thing that is needed. I will give example. Columbia University in New York, one of the old and ancient universities, as it is a private university. It graduated the icons of economy in the world. Most graduates have Nobel Prize at the level of the world. Where is the role of the governments that create incubator and embracing environment that should be harnessed for the creativity and innovation of the youth to contribute in the development of knowledge? This is an important thing for the institutions and the governments when they take care of entrepreneurship from different sides, to harmonize between people who have talents and skills and the people who do not have these things. And they both should be part of the development and production. If we want to produce something at the expense of something, or establish something at the expense of something, the perception of the societal outcome will be disrupted, because one is produced and developed at the expense of the other. So there is a disruption in the wealth distribution, and will be reflected negatively on the capital, and some people will be rich and others will be deprived of rich. For example, if we fire a number of employees, this means that we have destroyed the families. So how can we harmonize between the private and public sector? The public sector started with consolidation of the conception of knowledge and concept for people in the school, so that they will be qualified vocationally and professionally. People talk a lot about the diminish of many jobs in the over time, and they will have memories about people who studied this or that field, because we have robots that replaces people, but we will not abandon the human resources. This is what I would like to focus on. I hope that I have answered generally about the question. You have answered regarding the private and public sector, but what is the role of the young himself after the government or the public sector or the private sector has afforded everything? After the youth leave schooling, he enters the labor market, which requires continuous development. What do you advise people so that he will go in line with the development of the labor market? What do you advise them? We here talk about incentives and motivation. We have two types of people in this regard. There are many classifications, but the type who believes about the concept of the knowledge and he works to be part of this system and tries to have a good role, to have his print in this field, I think today he is in continuous acceleration and research about the investor and the supporter and the person who has abilities how to deal with him. The other type of the youth is the one who has desire to enable and own the knowledge, but he cannot invest it. Our today's youth suffer from this point. Or two, they have a dilemma. I am talking about the Arab economic knowledge, which has a big role because the infrastructure and the basics of the family is the main source of supporting the youth. If we have youth who have this message, should start from the family itself. The other side relates to the education system. Their role is to own the knowledge and adopt this concept so that they will find persons who will complete their message. So these people will not believe that they will finish that way, because there is a good generation talking the same language. So if you are in a society that do not talk about the language of knowledge, you will not find anyone who deal with them. But if they do not own the knowledge in general, there should be a person who seeks to own and invest this knowledge to them. So our role is to look for the people who make us be able to deal with the knowledge as a young. Let it put it simply and cut it short. I, as a young, should look for institutions and knowledge persons and learn through them and with them. This is one thing. So I am, as a young, own the knowledge. I should open the door and visit all the institutions and educational institutions and the community institutions, so that we will talk the same language.
We'll add to this that the Arab youth should develop their skills, upskills, not only to get a job within his country. He can look for jobs all over the world. Now we have remote work. Due to Corona and COVID-19, you can work from home and communicate with all brains and all minds at all jobs. This is how we should learn. And how we can benefit from human capital in countries that don't have the don't have the knowledge. How can we benefit from the human capital in countries that they don't have ability to follow up the knowledge-based economy? Yes. We talked about the traditional economy is based on three issues: land, labor, capital, money. Now, the knowledge-based economy is based on human capital and knowledge. Now the question is, how can we invest human capital in country that they don't have knowledge economy? We start work from the youth. They are the enablers of work and change. Therefore, it doesn't depend on governments or states or countries who have knowledge-based economy. The knowledge-based economy, the real one, is based on knowledge which everybody can access and can reach. If the youth have knowledge, perhaps he will be the first enabler for change. This enabler for change will really be the beginning or the starting point for the youth, and the human capital will be magnified through this concept. Therefore, if we look at investment on knowledge-based economy, it's a concept which means sharing knowledge. Knowledge transfer also is really important, and it is linked to communities. I'll give you an example. In some poor countries or communities, they have lots of basic needs. For example, they don't have knowledge-based economy. We need people who can communicate through exchanging what you have to those who don't have, the have and the have not. This created satisfaction. It was organized by one young man who was able to communicate with all people, and he built a platform for all people to communicate without the need of money or so human capital was supported by knowledge-based economy. Yes, doctor, and to continue what you have said, the youth who have the capital and the knowledge as well should focus on SMEs and entrepreneurship. This is really very important in the knowledge-based economy. And if you so SMEs are really a very good starting point instead of going to the public or to the government to work. My question now, the message to the youth in the Arab region before Corona was that the fourth industrial revolution will be based on technology and the role of human being will diminish. There will be no jobs, there will be unemployment. This caused a negative message to the youth. They think that they have no role, and the Arab youth do not have these skills. The COVID-19 had impact that human being will not play an important role. So the human being encountered this pandemic. How can youth deal with negative messages? And how can these messages, if they are correct, how can they be interpreted negatively or positively? 500 jobs will disappear, will diminish, but there will be millions of jobs, new ones. But we need people who can deal with it. How can youth deal with the messages? And during the Corona, the youth were the heroes, the champions. This is really a very good question. As a matter of fact, I would like to highlight an important issue. As you know, not only for youth, but for all the communities, non-reading. We are a non-reading society, not or those people who do not dive into knowledge. This causes that negative issues or impact on the youth if you don't read or if you don't go deep into reading and knowledge. Therefore, the negative impact will be more if you don't read. And this is what happened. Because we don't read, we just communicate data and we send messages which are sometimes false. My advice to the youth is to read and to research. Research and development is very important for knowledge management. This leads that you to know where the world stands, where are we going, where is the destination, how will be the new world. Where can you find the spot where you can stand and work? These are the challenges that you have to encounter. We should look all the time for solutions which are available, but not for challenges of the others. I shouldn't work in the place where I live. We have remote work. I'll give other examples. A friend of mine from Saudi, he has 60 employees in the field of computers, design and knowledge. In the field of technology, 60 people work in one city in Jordan. It's a Saudi company. The workers are in Jordan from home. So 10 years ago, this never happened, and it wasn't accepted. Now it is accepted. So they used to say he's going to Saudi to work. Now he can work in Saudi from home. This is really a development. This is an example of how we are developing now remotely. Another issue is that the youth, in order to be ready for the future jobs, again, they have to know and to be aware of the future. You should know your present or now to know tomorrow. You should know the present to know the future, so that you will not be a victim to humors or to rumors. Or the Arab youth now lead the Middle East with knowledge, because during the COVID-19 there were lots of innovations and creativity which was beyond expectation. And if you can calculate what we have achieved within 2 years during the COVID-19 among the youth, this will be really celebrated. And and call it the knowledge community, the Arab knowledge community, which is really very important for a new knowledge-based economy in the Arab world. I encourage everyone to adopt this. The COVID-19 created innovators among the Arab region who are able to change. But if the pandemic is finished and we lose them, then we will lose. Another question, how can we understand development for temporary jobs in the new world? How we can understand development of knowledge by having jobs, the role on the person and the role on the departments or communities or organizations. Knowledge is linked, you are linked to knowledge personally, not by the establishment. We have the continuous learning. We should focus on this concept. We think that those who graduate as a doctor or with a bachelor's degree, it doesn't mean that he is a scholar or a scientist. Knowledge does not stop. It is continuous. You need to discover. This question is good, but we need to highlight that we should differentiate between our role as individuals to learn and get knowledge and to understand development and to perform our work in a company. Another question from Morocco: how can we develop our skills in teaching and to cope with the latest developments worldwide, to be in line with the advancement? It's important to know in knowledge it's about education, and we are talking about the concept of education and continuous education or long life education. We will not be able to develop or learn unless the teachers have the skills or are skillful with the skills needed to teach. I would like here to add that to discriminate between what we call educational process, which is receiver and sender. There is a classroom, somebody gives information, a message, and somebody else receives it. This is teaching. But we need interaction between the person who has the information and the one who needs it. It is proactive, which is new in education and in the knowledge-based economy. But it's important. Learning is a concept linked to you as a person. The effort you exert as a person to look for data, information, and knowledge through technology, digital knowledge, data, libraries, bookshops, or through discovery and research. This is learning. Another important tool is acquiring training or practice, where what you have learned as knowledge, you practice it. And I go back to what you said. Knowledge is a process in the human being. When we receive a message or a data, it enters our brain as words, and the brain analyzes or processes them. Either it is stored for a short or long-term memory. In general, this data, if it's stored and took some place, then it will be analyzed. The brain will analyze this data. Once it is analyzed, the brain will realize what has been analyzed. Once realized, this perception has two messages or two routes. Either it will be still in the brain or transferred into solutions. If it is transferred to a behavior or solution, then we have invested in this case. And in this case, knowledge becomes an investment. So the behavior has been reflected. This is an explanation of the process. In addition, also, regarding developing our skills in teaching, as you said, the youth should go out from the concept of obtaining a certificate. The youth, the young people want to get a certificate, a piece of paper, to get a job, and even for marriage. One of the problems that we encounter in the knowledge-based economy, most of the people depend on technical training and skills, which is really important. Although it is negative in the community, many people reject going to technical vocational training because of the negative community despising such jobs. They are even rejected when they want to get married because they have a technical background or vocational background. I think the youth should arrange the priorities in education and ways of learning. Another question, Doctor. How can we empower the youth to discriminate between data and priorities? And with a lot of data, how we can encourage the youth to discriminate between data and their priorities, despite the big data and the short period of time between create data and another data. We go back now to main issues for the youth. Let's talk about priorities now. We have two elements. The first element is need, the need. There is a need and a priority and source of information, which is knowledge. If you don't accommodate between the needs and priorities in order to know what is useful for you and what is not, then there is a problem. This problem is caused between you're not realizing your ability. Some people realize their abilities. They can have priorities based on their needs. Understand your ability to prioritize based on needs. Then we know where the source of knowledge. Therefore, I will be able to dive into the ocean but can't fish and can't catch any fish. Why do our young people refuse technology and vocational training? In our knowledge 2010-2014, we had a survey on knowledge skills, and this survey was for the parents, and we found that parents refuse technical training for their children because of the negative culture about the vocational training. And they think that those who go for vocational training failed the traditional training or education. And also, vocational training usually ended with a diploma, not a master's degree or a bachelor degree. But now the Arab region are trying to change the culture by establishing new colleges, and those who graduate can obtain a BA, which is important for our region in the Arab countries. The question is, how can the youth be able to gain knowledge by research and development, although there is no enough technology? That's good. The question is based on the lack or the weakness of technology in the developing countries. We're talking about the technology in the developing countries. I believe, I'm not sure, that even in developed countries or remote countries, there isn't what is called a place which is like a desert in technology. We need to communicate. If it's a youth who's asking this question, he needs to exert some effort, and if he has the ability to get into this world, you can communicate with other countries. A story by a person. This youth was in the high school. He's from Tafila in Jordan and from a poor family. Within 6 months, 1,100 emails all over the world looking for a scholarship to be adopted to study. He got a reply after months from Sweden. He was still a student at school. He obtained this scholarship for 1 year. He went to Sweden. He stayed there for 1 year, back to Jordan. Then he completed his higher school. This was before high school. Now he is one of the most important engineers in Land Rover in the UK. He has the desire, the passion, the practice. This is an example of passion, looking for information. We're not talking, he was from a remote village, no internet, nothing, but he was able to send hundreds of emails to look for knowledge. I think whenever you have knowledge, look for it, pursue knowledge. There are no limits for knowledge. Knowledge is limitless, it's available everywhere. You will find it.
لازم انه احنا
So we should leave the concise of the knowledge wherever it is existed. That's right. If the young surrenders for its surrounding conditions, they will not change. Of course, the youth in the developing and the remote areas, they need to pay much effort, more than those who are in the urban areas, because they will get benefit more, and it will be a reason of their change and the change of the society where they live also, as you said. So they should jump over the obstacles and the impediments so as to develop. Question: how the youth can make sure of the credibility and the authenticity of the information that they get with the existence of the big data on the social media, so that he can document this information and make sure of its authenticity. I really believe that the subject of making sure of the authenticity of the information, today we live in an open world. There are two important points. The first one is that the person should be a reader and researcher continuously, so that he will not be deceived by the information. This is number one. If I, as a person, so as not to be exposed to mocking by others, I should have a good knowledge through research and reading. The other one is a lot of entities make sure of the authenticity and the credibility of the information through the researchers, the specialist doctors, experts, and so on. Everyone today writes information. Some people adopt them, and they consider it is right. This is what he thinks, and it may be right or wrong. Even the theories take 20 or 10 years to be proved. After that, the scientist may adapt or change the part of the theory. So the knowledge itself can identify cannot identify itself, but it depends on the person who has a good credit of knowledge to distinguish between wrong and right. Another question: can we depend on knowledge after beyond the academic situation to produce good projects and successful projects? Of course, the person, from my own point of view, from my contacts, if you have learned in a field, let's talk, it is knowledge, but you ended up with a project irrelevant to that. Why not? What's the harm? I agree with you totally, Dr. Thabet. If I may understand the question either beyond the academic situation or within the academic situation or a framework, the project is beyond the education. The size of knowledge and sciences change by 7% every year. And after the student graduates, he finds that the sciences have developed a lot. So the graduate should develop also in his skills and talents. And many projects depend on the talents that the one learns beyond the educational situation through 12 schooling years and 3 or 4 years of university. So we encourage students to develop their skills continuously in the fields they learned and in the other fields that they did not learn, so that many opportunities will be open for them. This is how I understood the question in another perspective. Another addition, Doctor, also is what is found beyond the framework of the academic situation are a lot of sciences, and we are living in an accelerating world to a certain extent. And even we look forward to a lot of situations where people lived and achieved. I would like to talk about the knowledge economy. I am happy and I am honored and I am proud of myself to be from Jordan. A lot succeeded, left Jordan and succeeded in the other Arab countries. He left Jordan with his ideas and developed them in Dubai, UAE, and Saudi Arabia and other countries. Today we talk about that knowledge is limitless, and the youth, the world is open before them. So they should chase their dreams, and he will achieve his goals if he has a good will and know how to treat with this knowledge. The most important thing is that what the knowledge economy suffers is the decision-taking problem. The last question, institutions have a good role to disseminate information. Is the country responsible for directing the youth so that it will avoid unemployment? This is an old and new idea and concept. I will give an example about that. A lot of young in a certain time, they did not, for example, study IT or something like that. After 4 years, the market of these fields have closed. Tens of students studied this field, but the need of the market is 4,000 or 5,000. They did not consider the harmony of the market request and the ongoing growth of this field. Today, for example, the cybersecurity is one of the most important fields that the young people study. And all the graduates in this field have opportunities and positions. And a lot of encoding also positions are required by a lot of companies, and a lot of young people who have academic certificates studied courses in this field, and they found this topic is related by the private sectors or the institutions. The community philosophy and culture we talked about something, why the society refuses to marry his girl or son from someone who has not academic certificate or degree. Why do not marry to a person who is not able to produce and achieve success? This is one of the community concepts and principles. The harmony of the requirement of the market is also important. More important is the impediments in the environment of the young who chooses a certain field, and it will be a trap and becomes eventually a burden on him and the private sector. I studied engineering, maybe I may work in another field if I have the ability to work in another field. What is the problem if I am an engineer and work something else? This is the problem of the society where we live. In the end, we need a final word for the youth and how we advise them in the knowledge economy and under the pandemic and how they achieve this one. From the point I ended up, the message of Allah to us as humanity and world on this earth by this pandemic has united the world, which was not united before. So the people united in all restrictions of the pandemic. So this is a message by God to the humanity. We have a question: why we are here in this world? We should go back to the rule of our existence. We should worship and thank our Creator, Allah. The message is to know that your existence is very important on this land. So that, and eventually you are required to develop and improve the land and the place where you live so that you contribute to the GDP of your country. You should be able to do by yourself anything. We should leave the impediments and the restrictions, and we should knock the door of the message. And the first message of the Holy Quran is read. So I advise you, young men, to read, research, and look for knowledge, because it is the key to success. Thank you, Dr. Thabet. In conclusion, we will make it clear for the young. In the past, the education resources was the teacher, school, and the book itself. But nowadays, the resources are open for the young, and you should depend and develop yourself and open new doors for developing your skills and education. Because if you remain dependent on the conventional resources or the state, you will be away from the knowledge economy and you will be away from the knowledge map. Confirming Dr. Thabet's talk, you should destroy all the impediments or the obstacles by thinking critically about the future era, where the winning will be for the knowledge owner. We thank Dr. Thabet Al Nabulsi. He has a final word, by the way. The final word is that many thanks to Mohammed bin Rashid Knowledge Foundation. The summit of knowledge has a good name, like it is, and we thank His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum and his foundation, who has aroused through this platform all the sound that talk about knowledge and achievement, innovation, and creativity. We as know that Dubai and the UAE platform is the platform of the Arabic innovation and creativity. So many thanks are extended to all the stakeholders on this and responsible on this platform. Thank you, Dr. Thabet, and the audience. You can connect on your social media if you have a question, so that we can answer you. And we hope that we will meet in another session after an hour from now. And thank you, and thanks Dr. Thabet, and peace be upon you. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Thank you.